Almost 40.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. How are you doing today?
All right, chill, chill, chill. We chilling, we chilling. Do you disagree with the topics on the board?
Trans men and women are men and women. I disagree with that because if they were, why would they put trans in front of their identity?
You know what? You're right. I agree with you. Black women aren't women.
Huh?
I agree with you. Black women are not women.
Black women are not women. Are they
Yeah,
female?
they're not women because why would they put black in front of their identity?
Does black go against their gender or mean opposite of woman?
Trans doesn't mean opposite of women.
What can you define trans then, please?
Trans is just short for transgender,
Which is what?
having a gender identity that does not align with your sex.
So it means that they already had a gender, correct?
They already had a gender. No, it's that their
Yeah, so they
gender
have an assigned
identity.
gender. So to be
Genders are not
transgender,
assigned.
you have to admit that you had a gender to begin with.
Genders are not assigned. Gender identity is an internal sense of self. Genders are not an assigned
So
thing. No
to
one can
state
assign
that
me
you
what
are
my gender is.
transgender, so
Hmm.
can you be transgender without already having a gender?
This is a question that doesn't make sense.
Hmm?
Like the question makes no sense.
Why doesn't it make sense?
The premise of the because the premise of the question is fundamentally flawed.
How? Explain. It seems pretty like
I
spot
mean,
on to me.
what's there to explain? You said, can
Can
you
you
be
be
transgender without
trans?
already having a gender?
Right.
Like
So
what?
can you just be trans?
Trans is just a prefix when added to the phrase gender.
And it's defined how?
The prefix of trans means on the opposite side of.
Oh, so it's on the opposite side of women.
No.
And how is woman defined? Well, that's you just said it's
Because
on the opposite side of. So
trans
you have to have
trans
something
when used as
established.
the no I understand the fundamental flaw. You don't know how words work. Trans when used as an adjective is just short for transgender. The word transgender is defined as having a gender identity that does not align with your sex. That's it.
Can you be the opposite of something that doesn't exist?
What doesn't exist?
I'm asking you a question. Can you be the opposite of something that doesn't exist?
It's a flawed question. Or in fact,
No,
I'll
you
even go one
can't.
step
Something
further.
has to
What's the
exist in order
relevance?
for you to be
What
the
is the
opposite
relevance
of
of
it.
the question? What do you think
So,
doesn't
in order to
exist?
be
What are you talking
trans,
about?
in order to be transgender, gender has to exist, right? So you have to have
I'm
something in
sorry,
order to be the opposite
who
of it.
said gender doesn't exist?
Right. So what you have an assigned gender, right? And you
No,
choose to not align with that gender, and that's what being
no,
trans is.
incorrect.
How does somebody prove that they're trans?
The only way you can prove an identity is by self-identification. That's the only way you can prove
So it's
any
a
identity.
choice.
It's a choice. What are you talking about? It's being gay a choice?
So okay,
Wait, answer
we're
my question.
talking
Is being
about
gay a
trans.
choice? Well, answer my question. Is being
Um,
gay a choice?
you can definitely choose to be anything you want.
You can choose to be gay.
You can choose to participate in the behaviors.
Behaviors aren't being the thing. Is like I can kiss a dude tomorrow and it doesn't make me gay. Being gay would mean that
Wait,
I would
so
have to
if you
be
act like something,
attracted
you
to
are not
men.
that something. Wait, hold on. So let's just be clear. So if you act like something, you're not that thing, correct? Is that what you just said?
Sometimes, yeah.
So when men or males act like women, they do not become women.
Correct. This is what drag queens would be. They are men who
Okay.
personify femininity, but they are not
And
women.
what's the difference between trans and drag?
I feel like if you don't know that, you might have a fundamental lack of education. But transgender women have a gender identity that is women, where drag queens' gender identities are men.
Wait, hold on. Say that again. I didn't catch. I didn't catch it all.
How much slower should I say it?
It's just same pace, same cadence.
Great.
Repeat it like
Drag
it's a chord.
queens, drag queens have a gender identity that would be man, typically, whereas trans women have a gender identity that is women. This would be the large difference. Drag drag performers use femininity as a costume. It's just a performance, whereas trans women, at least trans women who are feminine, femme presenting trans women, are feminine because it's something that they align with in their identity.
So they choose to say that they're women. That's the difference.
Well,
Drag
everybody
queens.
would have to choose to say
Drag
that you're
drag is
something.
saying, yeah.
In order
Well,
to
it's just a
speak, you
choice.
have
So
to
you're saying
choose
that
to
the
speak, right?
difference between
Speaking
the
is an
two is a
involuntary
choice.
thing. The difference between the two
How
is
is
the
it not?
choice. What are you talking about? What choice?
So you're just saying that all. So somebody can dress in drag, and as long as they're like, tomorrow I'm gonna dress like a male. I'm gonna still. I'm realistic in what I am. I'm still a male, but I like to dress like a woman, right? So where a trans person, all they have to do is say, I am a female or I am a woman, right? And that makes them trans. Self-identity is a choice.
No, just being a woman doesn't make them trans. What makes them trans is having a gender identity that does not align with their sex. That's what makes them trans.
Okay, so gender is a spectrum, right? So if I hold up a sign and I say,
Possibly.
which one are you? You have to make a choice, right?
That's not really how a spectrum works. A spectrum wouldn't
How
be
does it
pick
not?
one of, well, a spectrum means that it's not like multiple choices. It means you can fall anywhere along the spectrum line.
So if I give you four choices and I tell you to pick one,
And that's not a spectrum.
do you get to pick? You have to
Well,
make a choice between the
then
four,
that's
right?
not what you just described is not a spectrum.
Well, I condensed it, right?
Well,
So it could go
no,
from 4 to
you didn't
16 to
condense it. You
32.
just made it not a
So
spectrum.
so
That's
if I
not a
give you
spectrum either.
32 options, if I
It's not
give you
really a spectrum
32
either.
options, what what is the spectrum then?
A
Let's clarify
spectrum
this.
means there is a range of things between multiple extremes. And you can fall anywhere within the range. There's almost infinite possibilities in between the ranges.
So you're saying like
Like, have
gender
you
is
seen
like
a
a
color
game of
wheel before?
plinko, and
Have you seen gender as a
gender is
game of
like
plinko? What are
plinko,
you
and
talking
we
about?
and we we just drop. So when we're born,
I
um,
haven't made an assertion on what gender is. What do you mean?
you just agreed that it was a spectrum, and we
No, I
don't
said
choose it.
no. You
So
said is no. Well,
plinko
okay.
is an outcome we don't have control over.
I feel you might not be listening. When you said so, gender is a spectrum. I said some may say so. Some may call
So how
gender
do
a
you
spectrum.
determine gender?
Gender is as being an identity would have to be self-identified because it's an identity, and the only way to identify anybody's identity is through the self because identity is directly tied to the self.
Okay. All right. So, just one more time, I'm going to ask this question, see if I can get a real answer out of you. How
Let's
does
give the
somebody
answer.
identify publicly as being trans? Like, how do they exhibit that
They
they've
would
made the
self
choice
ident
to be
they would
trans?
self-identify that way.
But how do they show that with action?
Why do they have to show it?
How do they? They
Who
don't. Nobody. I
cares?
didn't say they have to do anything. How do they? How does a trans person
In a
show
million
the
different
world?
ways. There are millions of trans
Like,
people who do it millions of different ways. What are you talking about?
okay, so let's just be more specific. Can you think
You be
of
more
5
specific
ways
then.
they do it?
When you ask a vague question, you get vague answers.
No, it's appearance, right? Is your appearance a choice?
Is your appearance a choice?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Is putting makeup on a choice you make?
A lot of trans people don't wear makeup.
Did you wear makeup today?
No,
Why not?
I just don't like makeup. There are plenty of
So you made the
cisgender guys who
choice
did
not to.
wear. There are plenty of cisgender men who did wear makeup today. What does that have to do with anything?
Right. So they made a choice, right? on their appearance. Some people choose to wear t-shirts, some
Yes,
people choose to wear tank tops, some people
you
choose to
the
wear
way you leave the
dresses, some people
house.
choose to wear sneakers.
Yes, your clothes, the clothes you wear are a choice. I don't know what that has to do with your gender.
Well, that's how people portray themselves, right? That's how you self-identify. You go, this is how
No,
I feel. So based on this feeling, I am then going to go out and buy these clothes. I have to put
no,
action to feeling in order to become a thing, right? So
no,
it's
actually,
a chain reaction
no.
of things that you don't just wake up. You don't wake up in the morning and go, you know what, I'm trans. I'm just gonna walk outside and I don't have to do or choose anything for the
Some
world
people
to
do.
I see that I now identify.
Some people do. I think you have
Some
I think
people
you have a
just walk out.
fundamental lack of comprehension on what gender expression is and what gender identity is. They're two different things.
So how does gender expression come to fruition?
Well, gender expression would be determined by what you do to express your gender in a social way.
Right.
So it's how you
Actions, choices.
express yourself through your gender, whether that be behavior, phenotypic expression, whether that be clothing choices, like that would be expression, but that's not identity.
Was being punk a choice?
Is being punk a choice?
Yeah.
Relevance?
Just yes or no.
Relevance.
Was being punk a choice? Yes or no?
Yes, I don't
You
answer
don't want to
irrelevant
answer it.
questions.
It's relevant in
No,
the
you
fact
could
that they're
provide
both
the,
based on
there we go, provide the relevance, and then I'll decide if I want to answer the question.
so they had to self-identify that they were punk, right? And then they had to go out and buy all the clothes to then tell the world and like show that they are punk, right? So how is that any different than trans? It's the same path,
Buying the clothes didn't make them punk.
but they had to identify. Well, first they have to make the choice that I think I like being punk. I like the ideologies. I like the music. I like the community. I want to go be part of that community because they're welcoming. I like everything about that community. So I'm going to make the choice to then become punk, right? You don't just wake up and all of a sudden your hair
let
is
me just
spiky.
confirm. Let me just confirm. You believe maybe this is you believe that an identity that is a choice is the same thing as identities that are not a choice.
How is identity not a choice?
You believe that all identities are a choice.
Yes.
When did you choose to be straight?
When did I choose to be straight? When the chemical reactions in my body told me or made me feel a certain way when I looked at people of the opposite sex.
So you didn't choose.
That's
A chemical reaction is not a choice.
so. Wait, hold on. So, are you talking about when I chose to be straight? Is not an being straight is not an identity.
Straight is an identity, yes.
I've never identified as straight, like
Oh,
outside of
oh, so you're not
verbally.
straight.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't dress. I don't
My
dress a
apologies.
certain
When
way
did you?
because this is how
My
straight
apologies.
people.
You aren't. Okay, my apologies. You are not straight. When did you identify as gay?
I just told you I'm straight,
Well, no, you said you
but
never
it's not
identified
an
as straight.
identity.
It is.
Being straight is an identity. Can I choose to opt out of identifying that way?
As straight? Yeah, if you're not straight.
Well, I could just, that's not part of my identity. I'm straight, but I don't
It
choose
is.
to tell everybody that I'm straight.
It is.
So it is a choice to just exclude that from my identity and just go about my life, right?
You can't exclude it from your identity
How, how can I not?
because that would mean you're not straight.
I can choose not to identify as something, right?
You are the things that you are, and you do identify
Huh?
as straight. Do you date women?
Yeah.
then you identify as straight. If I put you in a group of 100 gay people and I said, "Hey guys, there's a group of 100." Let's
Wait,
say
wait,
you, yeah.
Identity
I'm
is a
talking now. I'm
choice in
talking now.
which you choose to
I'm
be
talking
identified
now.
by.
I'm talking now. If I take 100 people, you are one of the 100 people, okay? And I take you as you're the only straight person, and then there's 99 gay people, and I point at this group and say, "There's 100 gay people." What would you say?
The fuck? What would I say to 100 gay people? I don't know. Talk about the weather and
No,
shit.
no. You are in the
What
group.
the
I'm
fuck?
saying that you're the lack of being able to track is crazy. You're in the group. You're in the group. So I'm saying, look at that group of 100 people. You are one of the 100. And I say all of those 100 people are gay. What would you say? Would you say I'm straight?
Would I just openly, would that be my icebreaker to 100
Here,
people
I'll
that
make it even
don't
simpler
have the
for you.
same
I'll make it
sex?
even
No,
simpler for you.
that would
I'll
be
make
the
it even
weirdest way
simpler
to
for you.
interact with a group of 100 people.
I'll make it so
Are you
simple for you since you don't
ridiculous?
know how to do hypotheticals. I'll make it so simple for you.
Hey guys, I'm
Are
straight.
you gay or straight? Are you gay or straight?
What? I'm a carpenter too.
Are you gay or straight?
Can I identify as a carpenter?
Are you gay or straight?
Is sexual preference tied to identity?
Are you gay or straight?
Are sexual orientation
I'll
and
ask the question again.
gender
Are you
identity the
gay
same
or are
thing?
you straight?
I am attracted to females.
Are you? Oh, so you are straight.
I'm
So you are
heterosexual.
self-identifying yourself as a straight man.
I don't need to use the word straight. I'm heterosexual.
Oh, so you're identifying as a heterosexual, which means the same thing as straight.
If you choose to define it
They're
as
they're
straight, is
they're
also
synonyms. They're
signifying
synonyms.
there's no curve.
They're synonyms.
So are gender and sex.
If you don't like
Gender and sex are
synonyms, no,
synonymous.
they're not actually.
Well, how do you get to say that?
I don't say that the dictionary does.
So straight and heterosexual are synonymous in the dictionary.
Yeah, they mean the same thing. They have this. They have the same definition.
So do female, or so do sex and gender.
No, they don't.
Traditionally, in the English language. Oh yes, yes
Nope.
they do.
Nope. Can you point me to a single dictionary that gives them the same definition?
I don't know. Go back 50 years. When
Sure,
I
we can
say
go back 50
traditionally, that
years.
means that means
Hold on. Let's go back
traditionally
50 years.
speaking. You can go back
Hold on.
100 years, a
Let's go back.
thousand years. You can go back when the invention of English came
Let's go
around.
back 50 years. Oh, okay. Let's go back 50. Let's go back to the etymology of gender. So, do you know what etymology means?
Sure.
I don't think you do. So, I'll tell you what etymology means.
Okay.
Etymology is the history of a word, it's its meaning throughout time from its inception. Gender,
Yep.
that word came to be in 1300. Its
Mm-hmm.
original meaning was kind, sort, class, a class of persons or things sharing certain traits. That's not the same definition of sex. Should we go look
So
at the
role and
etymology of
reproduction is the
sex?
shared trait.
Should we go?
Role and
That's
reproduction
not.
was the shared trait.
Don't be a little bitch and try to weasel out of it now. Your claim was they had
Don't
the
call
same
me names.
definition. That's not the same definition. So don't
I
try to
said they're
weasel out of things.
synonymous.
Nope. Yes, that would mean they have the same definition.
So role and reproduction is the grouping in which it's
Yeah,
traditionally used. So
yeah.
they're
You
synonymous.
you were wrong. They mean two
Oh,
different
I,
things.
I hear you saying that, but
You were
I
wrong.
don't feel it. My brain doesn't
Yes,
recognize it
I
as
know you
wrong.
don't feel it. It's interesting when people are so dumb that they physically can't understand how dumb they are. Like they physically can't grasp that they are unable to like actually understand that like the shit that they're saying is stupid. Like I
Right.
yeah,
That's like saying
yeah.
trans men are
Uh-huh.
men. That's
Prove
just
that they're not.
philosophically dumb,
Prove that they aren't. Prove that they're not.
scientifically dumb. Okay.
Prove that they are not.
How do you
What show me
define
the
men?
science
Men is
show me
a
the science
human
text show me the
adult
science
male.
textbook that proves you wrong. Show me the science
Show you
textbook
the
that proves you
science
wrong. Yeah, you said
textbook.
science. Show me the science that proves it wrong.
Okay, so what two things are needed to create a human being?
What does that have to do with gender?
I'm gonna show you
Relevance.
how nature
Relevance?
provides two
Relevance.
options.
I'm just waiting for the
There's only two
relevance.
choices.
Relevance? You think humans have only two choices?
Nature.
I just want to confirm. You think in
Nature
human sexual
says
development there are only two choices?
Reproduction says that there are only two options.
Okay, let's confirm this. What are the two options?
That would be egg and sperm.
Egg and
You
sperm.
cannot create a human without those two things.
And those two things mean that there are only two sexes? Is this the claim?
Yes. Because your role in reproduction will never,
Okay,
or your
what are the two
potential role in
sexes?
reproduction will never change. Male and female.
What are the two sexes? Right, what does it
Male
mean to
and
be a female?
That means that you were born with the reproductive system designed to produce eggs. And I say designed, that means with intent to, because just because a system does not operate as it was designed does not mean it is excluding to the sex.
Phenomenal. So if somebody's born without a reproductive system, they don't have a system that's designed to anything. What are they? So for instance, let's say they have vaginal agenesis and they're born without a female reproductive system.
Their potential role in reproduction, if could be proven as
I'm not asking about their role in reproduction.
Child.
I'm asking, are they male? I'm asking, what sex are they?
So you would have to put more stipulations on it. See, this is why
no,
you want to simplify
no,
things.
I wouldn't.
Because
no,
this
I wouldn't.
is why you dumb down society.
You said
so
in order to be. See, this is what's hilarious. This is actually hilarious. Your claim was that in order to be female, you must have a reproductive system that's geared towards producing eggs. However, these are people that are born female, genotypically female, that lack a reproductive system at all. So they don't have anything geared towards anything. So what would their sex be?
So should we base things based off of anomalies?
I need you to answer the question. I'm not going to give a question
silly.
with another question. Answer the question.
So those would have to be on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, so
those would need to be addressed on a case-by-case basis.
So the goalpost
role in reproduction can be proven.
So the goalpost is moved.
Then that would be the sex or gender that they identify as.
So the goalpost has moved.
No, it hasn't moved.
You've moved the goalpost. Yes, it has. Your original goalpost.
Your question goalpost. No, it hasn't moved.
Nope.
Potential role in reproduction doesn't change.
Nope. Your original goalpost was to be female.
Potential role in reproductive
system geared towards creating eggs. Yet here is a group, people who are born with vaginal agenesis, who can have no reproductive system, so therefore there is nothing geared towards anything. And now you're saying, well, it's actually something else. So I'll ask the question again: what makes you female?
Okay. Show me an instance where one human has provided sperm for one child and then an egg for another child. It doesn't exist. So potential role in reproduction cannot change.
Relevance.
So intersex individuals that can reproduce, their gender would be defined by their role in reproduction, right?
Relevance.
Dude, did you learn a new word today?
I need you to provide the relevance for your argument. No, I need you to provide the relevance for your argument. If an argument has no relevance, what's the point of listening to it? I want you to provide the relevance of your argument. Because there isn't.
I can't connect the dots for you.
Do you know what a necessary condition is?
It took me all of 20 minutes to realize that you just go relevant.
I know
relevance
right
when you know
now.
You're wrong.
Yeah, none of this is the argument. None of this is an argument. Do you know what a necessary condition is? Yes or no?
Yes.
Great. What is the necessary condition to be female?
So because the body is not always created as it's designed to, you can't just state one necessary thing.
If there is not one necessary condition,
used to infringe on the rights.
If there is not one necessary condition to be a female, if there is not a condition you must meet to fit into this category, then you cannot bar people from the category without a condition that is all-encompassing. You physically can't do it. You cannot bar someone from a category on sufficient condition.
A female ever?
Can a male
reproduce as a female? Yes.
Yes.
They can? A male reproduces as a female.
What's a male? What's a male?
Somebody that's designed, human, biologically designed to produce sperm.
What is the sex determinant trait in humans that makes you designed to produce sperm?
So if you're born with more of the male reproductive system, you're not ever going to have ovaries surgically implanted where you can carry a child.
Great. I'm going to ask the question again. What is the
I
sex
just answered it.
determinant
You just don't like
trait
to answer
that you
because it
didn't provide a
destroys
trait? You did not provide a sex determinant trait. What is the sex determinant
role,
trait in males?
potential role in reproduction, right?
Potential roles
Do you
are not a
understand?
trait.
Do you understand how
Potential
that
roles are
works?
not a trait. What is the trait? Potential roles is
So the
not a
role
trait.
would be the trait.
Nope, roles are not traits.
So this is, yeah. See, I don't play the dumb
Potential
game
role
where
is
you're like,
not the
hey,
trait.
is it is it a certain height?
Mm-hmm.
So everybody that's over the
Mm-hmm.
height of 5'4" is a man,
Yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
everybody that's shorter than five
Mm-hmm.
four is a female. Yeah, that's dumb, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand how regressive that is to society?
Mm-hmm. You don't understand. You
You're
don't know how the
creating a
step works here.
loophole. I understand that the loopholes that are created
Yeah.
through
Mm-hmm.
language are regressive
Mm-hmm.
to society as a whole.
Mm-hmm. 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 What's the necessary condition? That's all I want to hear from you. Can you
Um,
provide it or no?
sex and gender, sex and gender would be decided by role and reproduction
Here
if
we go.
can be
Here
proven.
we go. Here we go. You can't do it. You can't
I've
do it.
already done it multiple times.
You haven't.
You don't
You
have a
haven't done
rebuttal,
it
so
once.
you're dead ending this conversation.
You have. My rebuttal is you cannot provide a relevant
You
necessary
completely
condition
sidestepped an
to
argument earlier
bar
by saying
someone from the.
relevancy.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. My argument is you cannot provide a relevant necessary condition that would bar someone from this category. So until you can provide a relevant necessary condition to bar someone from the category, they cannot be barred from said category. For instance, if I want to bar something from the category of human, I would say it has to be something that does not possess, or if I were to say something to be human, it would need to possess Homo sapien DNA. That's what makes you human, the possession of Homo sapien DNA. That's a necessary condition. Can you provide the necessary condition to be a female? The trait I must possess in order to fit into this category?
I've already defined it in a
You
very
have not
black and
provided the
white
necessary condition.
terminology. Yes, the
Okay,
necessary
so you can't
condition
provide the
is
necessary
potential role in
condition.
reproduction.
Potential role in reproduction isn't a necessary condition because that would mean that
Yeah.
any person, any female born who does not meet a role in reproduction wouldn't be female.
No, that's how you say potential. Do you understand what potential means?
Yeah, I know what potential means. This would mean any female who does not have the potential. So a female born with vaginal agenesis, who does not even have the potential because she is lacking a complete reproductive system, so she does not have the potential to fill a role in reproduction, would mean she's not a female. So you would
Wait,
say
so
that
you're
women
saying a
born with
female
vaginal
isn't a
agenesis are
female?
not women.
Have intersex people given birth?
Someone with vaginal agenesis who lacks a reproductive system can't give birth. They don't have a reproductive system. I don't know if you know
So
this.
reproductive system is what? So it's just missing entirely, right? So we're going to base definitions on anomalies, right? That's not by design.
A necessary condition can have zero exceptions.
So that's why this is a loophole. Do you understand how ridiculous this is? So
It's
you're
not a
going to say that a
loophole. It's an
human body
argument that you
that
can't
was
beat.
created not
That's
by
not a
design.
loophole.
You
It's
keep cutting
that
me
you
off.
can't beat the argument. Yes, because you're an idiot. It's not a loophole. It's that you have no counter argument.
It
A
is.
necessary
Why would
condition
you use
can
an
have
anomaly to
zero
define something?
exceptions. A necessary condition can have zero exceptions. Zero. So if you're going to say that these people can't fit into this category, there must be a necessary condition to fit into that category. And they can have zero
Okay,
exceptions. But as we've come to
so
find
the
out, your
necessary
necessary
condition
condition
to be
has
trans is
exceptions.
self-identifying.
The necessary condition to be trans would be having a gender identity that does not align with your sex.
So that's
Stupid.
self-identifying, right? So it's choice,
You don't even know what
right?
these words mean. Stupid.
How many medical diagnoses are determined by self-diagnosis?
Being trans is a medical diagnosis?
But how many medical diagnoses are there where you can go into a doctor's office and say you are something and then they have to reinforce it?
That's how most medical decisions are started, is you going in and identifying that you have a problem. That's how all
Right, but then
diagnoses of
how
like
is it
everything
determined to be
starts.
more than just
Are you
a
stupid?
feeling? So if I go
Yeah, I
into the
know.
doctor and I say I'm
You're just
depressed, right?
pivoting. You're
Mental
just
health
pivoting because
issues,
you don't have an answer. You're just pivoting. You've
mental
moved
health
the
issues. No,
conversation. Here's what's funny. I'm not going to let you move past the necessary condition thing. Give me the necessary
I,
condition.
I answered it with self-identifying is a necessary condition,
Self-identifying
right?
is not a necessary condition.
Wait, so how does somebody become trans if they can't
By
self-identify?
having a gender identity that does not align with their sex,
And how do you establish gender identity?
they would establish it
So that'd be
in the
self-identify,
mind.
right? In the
Self-identification is
mind,
how
right?
you identify to others. I don't know if you know what these things mean. You identify
When I
yourself
crave a
to another
cheeseburger,
person.
when I crave a cheeseburger, do I become a cheeseburger?
And you just become stupid, most likely.
So we're gonna use the brain to determine things when a concussion. So if you say that it all happens in the brain, can a concussion or
We
a
use the
stroke
brain to
change gender
determine,
identity?
just FYI, we use the brain to determine like most things in human society. Yeah.
Oh, we use the brain to determine most things in society, right? Because it all takes
Yes.
brain activity, correct? Is
Nope,
that
we
your
just use the
definition?
brain to determine
Is that
things. How do you determine who's your friend?
I
How do you
have to
make that
use my brain.
determination? Oh,
I
okay.
guess I can't do anything without
How
my
do you
brain. I
determine
can't walk. I can't
how do
talk.
you determine that you love your family?
A
How
choice.
do you determine that?
It's a choice I make,
It's a
and
choice
then
that
I
you make
reinforce it
to
by
love your family.
actions.
Hmm.
I
Wow,
choose to show.
looks like the brain is used a lot in identifying things, isn't it? That's kind of crazy.
So, can a stroke or concussion change gender identity or sexual orientation?
I can change a lot of things.
So, should we base things on something as so fickle as the brain, or should we use
Yes,
other
stupid.
more
Yes,
determinable, undeterred, like things we don't have a choice in, which is like things we don't have a choice in, which is like potential role in
that's the
reproduction,
dumb
correct?
argument. This is legitimately a bad argument. This is a dumb argument. You don't hold this stance in any other relevance when it comes to brain making power or decision making. You don't hold this in any other regard. You're saying, well, we shouldn't change society because of something that has to do in the brain. Okay, so I'll say marriage. Same thing with marriage. Why should I let people get married when a concussion can make you fall out of love with someone? Why should I be
Um,
basing
um,
an entire legal system of tax benefits and more based on something so fickle as the brain?
so, when you choose to get married, do you infringe on the rights of others in any way, shape, or form?
Trans people don't infringe on anybody else's rights.
Title IX, playing males playing in female sports infringes on female rights.
What does
In
Title
Title
IX say?
IX,
What is Title? Tell me all of what Title IX says.
that means
What is
that
Title IX?
women's sports are for females.
What is Title IX?
What you want me to say it word for
What is
word?
Title IX? You're saying it
It
goes
is
against Title IX. Tell me what Title IX is.
it is it was established to keep women's sports safe
Incorrect.
for competitive reasons.
Incorrect. Incorrect.
Okay, okay. What is it then?
So you don't even know what Title IX is.
Uh,
When was Title
what
IX
is it?
established? When was
Wait, hold
Title
If you're
IX
gonna say I'm
established?
incorrect, correct my incorrectness.
Yeah, we will. When was Title IX established?
No, let's not move on. Why are you pivoting? Correct it.
We will. When was it? When was it established? Because I want to relevantly show the chat that you brought up Title IX without knowing anything about Title IX. You don't know what Title IX says. You don't know the actual purpose of Title IX. You don't know when Title IX
All right, read
was
it.
enacted. You know none of
Read it.
these things.
Come on.
Yeah, Title IX prohibits sex-based discrimination in education programs and activities that receive federal funding. That's not sports. So try again.
Oh, it has no. That's it. Title IX was a sentence.
Yes, it's to prevent sex-based
That's
discrimination. in
I've never
education
heard of
programs that
legislation
receive federal
that's a
funding.
sentence. Or is that it?
Title IX is you've never heard of legislation that's in one sentence? We have tons of them.
Really? Interesting.
Yes.
So you're saying that that is the only part of that legislation?
Yes, Title IX is a
It's
law
just
that
that one
prohibits
sentence.
sex-based discrimination for
Is that all it
programs
prohibits?
that receive federal funding. Yes, Title IX is specifically prohibits sex-based discrimination. That's it.
So that's it. Has nothing to do with
That's
sports.
it. That's it. It does it for programs that receive federal funding, meaning you can't discriminate on the basis of sex
So why
if
aren't
you
males?
receive
Why weren't
federal
males
funding.
allowed to? Why aren't males allowed to compete in female sports if
They
they
are.
identify as men or males? What
They
what
are
stops them
allowed to.
from just
People who
doing
are
it?
male, people who are male, are allowed to compete in women's sports in a litany of sports. What are you talking about?
What that are co-ed, correct? You're talking about
No,
co-ed sports?
in
Because I would think that that designation is there and present. Because I played co-ed softball in high school. You're not talking
high
about
school
co-ed
doesn't
sports?
split you. High school doesn't split you up because there's a difference between males and females. Typically, they split up by male and female so that you don't share locker rooms because they're
Typically, I like that
kids.
word.
Because
Typically
they're
is such a good
kids.
word.
But there's tons of sports. There was and when I went to high school, there were women who played women. There were girls in my high school who played in my high school football team
They're,
because
right.
of Title
Okay.
IX.
So
Because Title
girls are allowed to
IX
play with
existed,
boys, right?
they had the right to play. Uh huh.
Wrestling, you see where boys wrestle girls in state and high school wrestling. That is something that
Let's get ready for the
nobody cared
goalpost.
about,
Let's get
right?
ready for the goalpost. Go crazy.
That's
Still don't.
you. What?
I still don't care about it.
You still don't care about the infringement on rights. I understand that's a huge flaw in the Democratic Party right now.
I'm sorry. What right? What right? I'm sorry. What right?
The right to safe
What
spaces, the
right?
same right that the trans community is fighting for.
Where I'm,
They
I'm
have
sorry.
to strip the right of a
Where in the Bill of
gender.
Rights does it say? Where in the Bill of Rights does it say I have a right to a safe space? Where does it say that in the Bill of Rights? I'm
Um,
just wondering.
I don't
Where
know.
does it grant us the right
I'd
to
have
a
to
safe
look it up.
space?
So you think that gender-based bathrooms isn't? That's
I'm not
just
going
not
to
something
move.
that is protected
I'm
via
not going to move to
legislation.
something else.
No, that's the same thing.
There is no legislation. Gender bathrooms are not up to legislation. They're up to the businesses. Businesses make designations. There is no legislation on the books that talks about bathrooms having to be gendered. What's the legislation?
So there's no criminal punishment for men getting caught in girls' bathrooms
No,
or women's bathrooms. So no, you
no,
can't get criminally charged.
no, no.
Interesting. So if I was
What's
to
the
get
law?
caught
Give me the
in
law.
the women's dressing room,
No, give me
would
the
I get in
law.
trouble?
No, no, give me the law.
Interesting. I'm not gonna give you shit. I just find it
Because you
very
don't have it,
interesting.
because it doesn't exist. Because you don't have it, because it doesn't exist.
Hmm. So because I don't have it, it doesn't exist.
Exactly. Now you look
That's a
stupid.
very
It doesn't exist.
single
The reason you
cell
don't have it is
organism way to
because it
think of
doesn't
things.
exist. The reason you don't have it is because it doesn't exist. Otherwise, show me the
Interesting.
law.
I'm not gonna Google anything right now.
Because you can't, because it doesn't exist.
I, dude, your reverse psychology is weak.
Let me ask you. Okay, let me ask you a question. All these men who take
Google
their
it.
little girls to the
If you're so
restroom,
confident, Google it
all
yourself.
these dads. When a dad takes his little girl to the restroom and he takes her into the women's room, he should go to jail then, right?
I don't know any dad that goes into the women's restroom with their daughter.
Tons of them. Tons of them. Let's flip it. Let's flip it. The dad takes her into the men's restroom. She should now go to jail.
You're saying the little girl that goes into the bathroom
Well,
with
she
her
broke the
dad
law,
should
right?
be
She broke the law,
arrested.
right? She broke the law, right?
I would say that there could possibly be rules for supervision. Correct.
Oh, rules
That's
for
a whole lot different than an adult
supervision.
going into.
Oh, of this made up law that you made up right here on the spot that doesn't exist. There's
So
rules for
there's
supervision in
no
this made
protected.
up
So
law that
women's
doesn't
sports
exist.
aren't protected by legislation. Title IX has nothing to do with female sports.
Title IX only matters to programs that receive federal funding.
Do
If a
sports
program does
receive
not
federal
receive
funding?
federal funding, professional sports don't. They're not funded through the federal
But
government.
high school and college, do they?
Some can, yes, and it prevents sex-based discrimination. Like when someone says, "Hey, I want to compete in this sport," and someone says, "No, you can't," that's what it protects, not the other way around. It doesn't say, "Oh, well, you can't compete in this sport because of that." Nope. It makes it so that you can compete if you want to compete. That's what Title IX does. But I know, people who just regurgitate and don't actually read the legislation, like you, wouldn't know this because you haven't read the legislation because you didn't even know what Title IX was. At this point, I
What
would
is
just
equal
stop, me
participation
personally.
opportunities? Hold on. What does equal participation mean?
It means that everybody should be able to participate equally.
Okay.
Hence, when I said it prevents sex based discrimination. So, everyone of
So
every sex should be able to participate equally without being discriminated upon on the basis of their sex. So, when a trans woman says, "Well, my gender is woman, so I want to compete in the woman's sport," you can't say, "Well, your sex is male, so you got to get out of here," because that would be discriminating on them based on sex. See how that works?
are you
See how
so
that works?
in order for them to claim discrimination, they have to identify as male, right?
I'm sorry.
So in order for them to claim that they're being discriminated on, they have to identify as the opposite sex, right?
What? I
So
don't know
to,
if you know this, most trans women would still identify as male because they are
wouldn't that be
genotypically
drag?
male.
Wouldn't that be drag then?
What's this word? What is this word?
Women?
And what is
So
this
they're not the
word?
same thing. So
And what is
trans
this word?
women and men are the same
And what is this word?
men.
Oh, okay. So nothing up there talks about sex, right? So they can have a sex that is male, but their gender would be, what's this word again?
Wait, so men and women
What's
isn't
this?
a
What's this word
descriptor?
again?
They're not used to describe males and females of a certain age.
What's this word? They can be. Sometimes they are.
Well, so in
You know,
order
words can have
for
multiple
trans
definitions,
women to
right?
compete in female sports, you have to change the definition, right? Which would be a loophole. Which would be, I don't know, predatory
You
in
you know
nature.
you know words can have multiple definitions, right?
Yeah, yeah, they
Oh,
most
okay.
certainly can.
So some women are women because they are adult human females. Some women are women because of a litany of other things. Some men are men because they're adult human males. Some men are men because of a litany of other things. Someone can be
Why do
male
we need
and be woman.
why do we need the identifier of trans? Why not just be men and women?
We're back to this. Trans is only used we are taught when we are either comparing or contrasting trans people to cis people. If I'm not doing this, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't identify them as trans as the first thing I say. If I have a group of 100 people and I'm just saying that there's 100 people there, I would just say, "Yo, look, there's 100 women." But let's say I have a group of 50 trans women and 50 cis women. And instead of saying there's 100 women, I'm talking to like a doctor who wants to get a head count because they're performing some type of whatever. Then I would say, "Hey, there's 50 trans women and there's 50 cis women. They're all still women, but they have an adjective to describe the type of women that they are." Because that's what adjectives do. They're describing words. And you put an adjective before a noun to describe the noun.
Can you change your age?
Are we dead ass right now?
I'm
Is
just
am I
curious.
am I am
Can
I
I
on
use the brain
MTV's
to change
Punked?
my age?
Is Ashton Kutcher gonna come through the door here? What is age measure?
Amount of time on the earth.
Mm. So can I physically change the amount of time I've been on the earth?
So you agree that there are things about a human that you cannot change, even if you want to
Yeah, I
in your
wouldn't say
brain.
age is an identity. I wouldn't say age is an identity. So yeah, there are some. Biological things we can't change, such as genotypic
Um,
sex. Your genotypic sex is an immutable trait. Your age is an immutable trait. You know what we can change, and we have changed, is age groups. So, for instance, adult now means somebody 18 or older. It hasn't always meant that. So, there are age groups that are social constructs that we have changed, but your direct tied age, the amount of times I've gone around the sun, does not change. It's an immutable trait.
right. So you agree that you can't. There are some things about the human body you cannot change, even though no
No
matter
shit.
what your brain tells you, your brain can tell you that you're 50. You could be 50 years
No,
old, and
no
your
shit,
brain could tell
Sherlock.
you
Holy
that
shit.
you
I'll take
are
things that are
younger, right?
super obvious for
I feel
300.
younger. I feel younger. Hey,
Let's take things that are super obvious for 300.
so
Some
because
things
your
can't
brain
change.
feels a
Holy
certain way, it
shit.
doesn't change.
Woo!
It doesn't
Holy
change
shit.
things,
Who would
right?
have
You have to
guessed?
act on that change,
Who would
right?
have
People start
guessed?
dressing younger.
Woo! God damn. Who would have guessed that some things don't change, chat? Certainly not me. Wow. Woo!
Okay,
Amazing.
so another thing that cannot change is potential role in reproduction. Those are two things: age and potential role in reproduction cannot change in the human body.
If I'm a woman with a uterus and I take my uterus out, did I change my potential role in reproduction?
No,
Yeah, I did. I sure did. I don't have that
no, you didn't
potential anymore. I
change.
no
No,
longer
because
have a potential role in reproduction.
you put the uterus back in, and the potential role did not change, right? Just because you took one part of the reproductive system out does not mean that all of a sudden you're going to start being able to produce the other thing. Correct?
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Can someone with XY chromosomes give birth? And
Depends
let
on
me
their
ask you a
role in
different way.
reproduction.
Does somebody with an XY chromosome have a positive role in reproduction?
How many different combinations of chromosomes are there? More than two?
About 30 now.
Okay, so, but from those 30, they can only, in order to reproduce, which is vital to the existence of the human species, um, they can only produce by design one of two things, correct? So it doesn't matter what the chromosomal makeup
God damn,
is.
saying a whole
You're
lot of
either going
nothing.
to have a body that produces one thing or has the potential to produce one thing or the other.
Do me a favor. Can you just tell me what gender is? Like, give me
Gender
a
is
functional
synonymous with
definition for gender.
sex.
No,
I would
give
say
me
that
a functional
gender is
definition of
determined by
gender.
potential role in reproduction.
I didn't
That is
ask
how
what
I would
determined
define it.
it. I said, give me a functional definition. That definition does not tell me what gender is.
It just
If I said a car is something that has a functional role in driving, I could have just described anything. I could have just described a fucking bike. I could have just described a fucking truck. Give me a functional definition
a
for
car
gender.
is the potential of driving. You don't drive a bike, you ride it, right? Driving
I could say I don't
involves
drive a
having
car.
a
I ride a
motor.
car. If I have a self-driving car, I didn't drive a car either. I just rode in it. Next
Driving
question.
implies motor vehicle, correct?
Yeah, you notice you can't. You notice you're pivoting to not answer the question. Give a functional definition of gender.
My definition is not going to change.
So you can't provide a functional definition of gender.
I provided one, you just failed to recognize it.
That wasn't a functional definition of gender. That does not tell us what gender is as a concept or a thing. It doesn't tell us this.
I like how the person in chat to say, if you drink and ride a bike. Sorry, I just had to point that out. They didn't say drive. I find that humorous.
Great. What's a functional definition of gender?
Okay, so we're stuck at a dead end at
Because your
this point
definition
because
is
I've
not a
already.
functional definition of gender.
And
It does not describe what gender is.
why do you get to decide that?
Let's just confirm, chat. Gender is having the potential to be part of human reproduction. That's your
Potential
definition of
role
gender.
in reproduction
Gender is having a potential role in reproduction.
is
Does
determined
any
by
as a single
potential
person,
role in reproduction.
gender is determined by. So you are just telling me what determines gender. You're not telling me what gender is.
Male and female are the two genders.
Those would be examples. If I said what's a car and you said Ford and Ferrari, you would look at me stupid. Because I'm asking you for a functional definition to describe what gender is, not give me examples of a gender. What is gender?
Gender is the description of potential role in reproduction.
This is circular now.
Dude, how do you not
So
understand?
your potential role in reproduction is what determines your gender, but your gender is also a description of that.
Yes, because that's
Now we're
why
just
it's
going in circles.
determined. Dude, what else do you want?
So gender is a description of this. Who decides the description?
All right, you ready for this one? Nobody decides it, but the human body decides it by potential role in reproduction.
So just
It's not a
confirming, we
choice that
have
a human makes.
descriptions of these
Much like
things,
age.
but no one decided what those descriptions were.
No, biology and
That's not how
the act
language
of
works. Language,
reproducing.
you always have to have someone who
That's how
describes something. Like
reproduction.
that's how language works. I don't know if you know how language works. Somebody always has to come up with something. So who came up with the description? Who came up with the categories?
So just to
Biology
be clear,
didn't do
when
it.
animals reproduce, do they describe it or does it just happen naturally?
Bro, there's no way.
Just curious.
There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. Who created the descriptions? Who decided that man as a functional word can only describe X? X being whatever that potential for reproduction is. Who determines this?
The society as a whole.
Great. So now, what if society as a whole decides we want to change and we want we want the definition of the men to also include trans women? Then you would say trans women are women.
I would say that the election results and Trump being elected would show that society does not want to make those changes.
Trump was elected by 28% of the country. So next.
It's still a majority, correct?
No, 28% is a majority?
Enough people decided that that's
was 28% a majority?
Oh, well, I guess I'm sorry. No, 28% is not a majority of
the majority
the
of the country didn't
but it is
vote.
a majority of the people who voted. Correct? Isn't that how that works?
Sure, but we're talking about society as a whole. Correct. We're talking society as a whole, not just people who vote.
Okay, so if you don't vote, you're okay with the people who do vote's decision making. That's how that works.
This isn't about voting. Words don't change because you vote in someone new. That's not how words work. Words aren't determined by whatever administration is in charge.
So how does 1% of the population get to redefine words?
1% of the population wouldn't be redefining the word.
Interesting.
It's not how words. Let me ask you a question. Are definitions descriptive or prescriptive?
Are the definitions descriptive, or what was the second one?
Prescriptive.
I guess it's never going to be absolute, right? Like,
definitely absolute. There's only one right answer to this question.
Language and how language worked, I would say descriptive.
Great. So definitions don't change just because somebody arbitrarily says we're going to change them. They change because people start using the words differently. So when a big portion of people who believe trans women to be women start using the word women to mean something else, that means the word is functionally changed.
Wait,
it doesn't matter if there's a group of people holding on to the original meaning of the word.
You just destroyed your own argument because you have to make a choice to start using the word differently. Like, and you just said that people can't choose to redefine words.
Shit. Holy shit. They didn't choose to redefine the word. You don't know how dictionaries work.
If you use a word wrong,
you functionally don't. There is no such thing as using a word wrong.
It's a choice, right?
There's no such thing as using a word wrong because definitions are descriptive, not prescriptive.
So that would be going against established definitions.
Definitions are
would be using
descriptive,
the word
not
wrong.
prescriptive. Definitions are descriptive, not prescriptive.
So if it's already defined, right?
What do you think prescriptive means? You
Pre
don't know.
means before, right? So
You
just
don't
using
know.
language. Pre means the act of going ahead of.
You
Like you
don't know what
predetermine
prescriptive
something.
means. You literally don't know what prescriptive means.
No,
That's what
no.
I know.
I'm just
Right.
using language to try and define it.
You're using language to try to
So and
define something.
yeah.
Beautiful.
It has pre in it, so therefore it has to have something to do with going before. Are
Insane.
you looking up the definition?
I don't need to look up the definition of prescriptive. I know what it
Okay, what
means.
is the definition?
Prescriptive means to prescribe a level of correctness. When we say that the definition, when we
Oh,
say that words
prescriptive.
are,
Yeah, that was a bonehead thing on my bad. I thought we were talking about definitions of word. I don't see the relevance between the two words, right? You took two words,
between prescriptive and descriptive,
descriptive and
descriptive means
prescriptive.
to, when we're talking about words and definitions, descriptive
Yeah.
means that, which is what every dictionary is, save for medical dictionaries. Descriptive definitions don't tell us how words are supposed to be used or prescribe some level of correctness to words. All they say is that this is how we typically see people using the word at this specific point in human history. That's it. That's all it does. It doesn't
All
say
right.
that this is correct.
So
It doesn't say that this is right, because that's not what descriptive does. A prescriptive definition would say this is how this must be used because it's prescribing a level of correctness. But the dictionary doesn't prescribe a level of correctness. It is a snapshot of whatever year it was written of how the words tend to be used at this specific point in time.
so if I use a racquetball, or no, hold on. So just real quick, if I define a baseball bat as something created to hit a baseball, and I use it to hit a tennis ball, am I using the bat wrong?
No, because the definition is not prescriptive.
If it's defined as used to hit a baseball, though, and I'm not using it to hit a baseball, I'm using it to hit something else. Would
No,
I be
because it's not the definition is not prescriptive. So you wouldn't be
so?
incorrect for using the definition. Like, what the
Give
heck?
me an example of a prescriptive word,
The
not
only real
changing
words, the only real
existing
definitions that
definition.
are going to be prescriptive are going to be legal definitions and definitions of like medical procedures. Those are the only ones that are going to prescribe what that like a dictionary, a legal dictionary is going to be a prescriptive dictionary because it has to be. Because you have to say that this is what this word means in a legal sense. And you can't have wiggle room for that when you're doing law. A medical book is going to prescribe a definition to a procedure because you have to know what that procedure is. There is no wiggle room here. I can't have a descriptive definition of chemotherapy. It has to be prescriptive. Everything else, such as the way we use words when we're talking about people, such as the way I'm using words in my sentence now, are descriptive. All that happens is we have all come with some common understanding that this word means this. This changes all the time. That's what slang is. Bad means good. If I say a woman and I say she's bad, that means she looks good. Okay? I'm not using the word wrong. No, the word even if you go to the dictionary, we now understand that bad has a description of good because and we're not going well. The word good, though I'm sorry, the word bad is prescribed to mean negativity, so you can't use it that way. You don't go up to every person that's going she a baddie and tell them they're using the word wrong because you don't know what descriptive and prescriptive means.
Um, I still don't see how you can't you're using the word wrong until it's redefined.
Unbelievable. All right, you don't know how definitions work when they determine you're.